Hello, and welcome to a somewhat different edition of Rusty's MS Adventures. I've been taking Glatopa for about 5.5 months now to treat my MS, and I really like it so far. I recommend it. I've noticed that there's not a whole lot of information out there from people who have actually used Glatopa, so I wanted to make this video to kind of provide some tips that I've figured out throughout the course of my treatment, as well as it gives some information for what to expect when taking Glatopa. This is aimed at people who are just starting Glatopa or about to start it, or are just considering it as a treatment for their MS. So the first thing is that Glatopa has to come from a specialty pharmacy, which before this whole situation I wasn't familiar with the specialty pharmacy. It's kind of a mail order pharmacy thing. They will ship your medication directly to your home or to the local pharmacy of your choice. I personally use the CVS Caremark Specialty Pharmacy, and I love them. So I choose to pick up my medication from a local CVS store because it's just more convenient for me that way. When you get your first batch of medication, you will get a whole lot of stuff. And most of it is just, you'll get it that first time. First of all, you will get a whole bunch of paperwork, enough paperwork to sink a small ship. But most of that is just something you will look at once. It's informational, and then you'll throw it in a drawer somewhere. So the main entree of what you'll receive that first time is your actual medication. It comes in a box like this. This is Glatopa at the top. Inside the box, and this is 30 days worth of treatment. Inside the box are 6 little strips like this with 5 syringes. And I personally like to separate them. They're perforated like in between, so you can just pull them apart and you'll end up with something like this. This is what this is the one I'm going to inject later. So if you do, you don't have to separate them. I suppose you could just open it up and pull the syringe out one by one as you use them. But like I said, I like to separate them. It's my way of keeping organized, and I don't know. It's just part of my process. That's what I like to do. If you do separate them, sometimes they can be a little tricky to separate. Sometimes the perforations aren't great and they don't like to separate. So I have figured out the best way to separate them is I will demonstrate. Hold it like this with the that part toward you, and then hold the rest of the syringes at the top that you're not pulling off. And the top part should be the part that has the little pulley open tab. Leave that at the top. So hold the rest of it with your one hand, and then with this hand I'm going to pull toward myself and downward quickly and deliberately. You don't want to hesitate on this, otherwise they won't tear nicely and you'll just want to punch something. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Demonstrate. 1, 2, 3, 4. This particular package, the perforations are actually good on this one, but sometimes you will really run into an issue where you'll try to pull them apart and they'll just want to tear and, like I said, make you want to punch something. So that's the best way to do that. That is the actual medication that you'll get. You'll get a whole bunch of other stuff too. One thing you will get is your injection calendar, which I love. It's magnetic on the back, and then the front side has a dry erase finish, and they even give you the official Glatopa marker, dry erase marker, which I stuck a magnet on the back so I can stick that right next to the calendar on the fridge. And you can, after you do your day's injection, you will just mark off, what injection you did. I personally like to go in order, so Monday is abs, Tuesday is right thigh, Wednesday's left thigh, etc. And then at the end of the week, since it's dry erase, you can just clean it off and start fresh the next week. So, like I said, I really like that. I don't know if you get one of those with Copaxone, because I've never used Copaxone, but you get it with Glatopa. So, the next thing that you get is the AutoInjector, Glatopaject it's called, and it comes in this little carrying case, which I personally don't use my Glatopaject, so I leave it in this carrying case. But inside, it's the AutoInjector in pieces. If you choose to use that, you can figure it out, I'm sure, but I won't put it together and demonstrate it because you can't really take it apart until after you do an injection, and like I said, I don't like to use it, so I won't do that. You will also get your Glatopaject mat. This is just, yeah, it has places for the AutoInjector, for your needle, your cotton ball, and your alcohol wipe on it. And even though I've been doing these injections for over 5 months, I still use the injection mat every day, every time. I don't know, it's just part of my process. So I like to set my little pieces in the thing, which I will show you, I think. Yeah, so yeah, there's that. Cotton balls. Cotton ball is the one thing that you will actually have to buy yourself. It's not included. That huge purchase, I know. You will get a box of alcohol wipes, or you'll get alcohol wipes in some form or another. I personally got this box. I believe this came from Glatopa, and then I got a bunch of individual packs from CVS. I know these are from CVS because they say CVS on them. And I get 30 new ones of those every month with my new batch of treatment. So, alcohol wipes galore. And then you will also get a Sharps disposal container. I personally got 2 Sharps disposal containers. I think one came from CVS and one came from Glatopa. I'm not entirely sure, but you'll get at least 1, possibly 2 Sharps disposal containers. So I haven't done my injection yet today, and it's Tuesday, so that's right thigh today. So I will go ahead and do that for you, kind of explain some of how to do it. And like I said, I already have my stuff laid out, which I always do before an injection. You keep the Glatopa refrigerated, but you're supposed to let your individual dose warm up for, they said, about 20 minutes or so to get to room temperature before you inject it. Doing that, I guess, helps to reduce the injection site reaction, so that like stinging or burning that you feel. I personally injected it when it still felt kind of cold a couple times, and I didn't notice a difference, but I still leave it out for about 20 minutes to warm up. So I took this one out a while ago, which is why I have this one sitting here. So that's the one I'm going to inject. The first step to do an injection, and this is a manual injection, like I said, it'll be different if you use the AutoInjector. But the first step, regardless of whether you use the AutoInjector or not, is to wash your paws, which I did right before I sat down. Let's see. Okay, well, I'm doing the right thigh, so I will go ahead and shift this, and so you can actually see where I'm injecting. There we go. Alright. So, it's always a good idea to, well, you don't want to inject too close to your last injection spot. They say to use like 3 finger width, from at least 3 finger widths from your last injection site. My last injection was like back here. I'm injecting like right here today. And I personally, sometimes I can feel like old injection sites. There's like a little bit of a lump there, so I just try to avoid injecting directly on a lump. So right here is good. That's where I'm going to inject. First thing you do, take your little alcohol wipey. And then you're going to clean your site circularly. I don't know why you're supposed to clean it circularly, but they say that you are, so that's what I do. And then you're supposed to let that dry for 30 seconds to a minute so that the alcohol isn't all wet and actually goes into your wound. If you inject, that would hurt. So as that's drying, I always open my syringe. And I also open my sharps disposal container, which that's pretty self-explanatory. So there is, well, if you've watched any other videos, you will know that you'll often get a little drip of medication at the top of your needle, which people generally shake off, whatever. It's annoying. To me, that's just like medication that is going to waste, so I don't like when that comes out. There's a way to, probably about 75% of the time, avoid losing that little drip of medication. So let me flip this upside down. There's a little air bubble, and there's a little air bubble in there. I don't know if you can see it at the top, but I'm gonna flip it upside down, and it came to the top. I don't know if you saw that or not, but you want to make sure that air bubble is at the top. If it's not yet, just give it a little flick and it'll pop to the top. And then don't just yank the lid off of the thing. You want to kind of slowly twist and pull. Alright, that was a bad pull. So, well, that's what I'm talking about, the little drip of medication. So, yeah, see, that little medication now is going to waste, so that makes me sad. But if you do it correctly, you won't get that little drip. But anyway, so that's your needle. That's how big it is. It's very small. It's, put my fingers there next to it. Yeah, it's very small. It's, and it's very, very fine. So, yeah, really, I don't even feel it go in some of the time. And when I do feel it, it doesn't feel like much. So, to actually do your injection, you'll want to pinch the skin to try to get it in, not inject near a muscle because that will hurt. So you want to pinch the skin and then inject the needle downwards. Yeah, see, I can't even feel that needle in there. And you're supposed to inject it slowly, about 10 seconds it should take to fully inject the medication. And as you're injecting, it's done, pull it up. As you're injecting, don't put pressure like down on the tip of the needle or of the syringe, because I've discovered that applying pressure during an injection or shortly after an injection often causes it to bruise, and you don't want to do that. Again, wipe it with a cotton ball. That's what your cotton ball is for. And again, don't put much pressure on it, so just kind of dab and wipe, and it usually doesn't bleed very much, sometimes not at all. So that is the actual injection part. And yeah, okay. Oh, I put stuff where the computer goes. Alright, hello again. So after you're done with an injection, cap your needle before you throw it in your sharps disposal container. Sometimes cap doesn't like to go on the needle nicely. Like in this case, it will give you resistance. If that's the case, pull it back off, reposition, and try again. Don't just keep pushing it on, trying to get it correctly on there. I learned from experience. The one time the cap just would not go on, so I kept pushing and pushing and pushing until the needle went all the way through the cap and into my thumb. And that hurt quite a bit, but only for about 2 seconds, and there was an initial surge of blood. And but then, like I said, the needle point is so fine that it heals almost instantly, so it's not like it was a huge deal. But don't do it. I don't recommend it. And then once it's capped, dispose of it in your sharps disposal container. This is actually a new sharps disposal container today. I just filled my last one yesterday. So that is the actual process of the injection. And yeah, it's pretty simple. Again, with the whole pressure thing, bruising, try not to put pressure on it now for about 12 hours or so if you can avoid it, to help avoid a bruise. So yeah, that's, oh my gosh, I forgot the cooler. Another thing you get with your initial batch of drugs, you get a cooler. Isn't that cool? Aha, pun intended. Yeah, I used it once successfully to transport your medication should you need to travel. I used it when I went to my sister's for Thanksgiving, and it works as you would expect a cooler to. So yeah, like I said, lots of fun stuff you get with your first batch of medication. But overall, like I said, I like Glatopa. I recommend it. It's honestly the number one piece of advice I can give to someone just starting or about to start taking Glatopa is don't psych yourself out about it. It can seem a lot worse than it is. It really doesn't hurt that much, if at all. The side effects are minimal, and in my opinion, the potential benefits so greatly outweigh the negatives. And I came into, starting Glatopa absolutely hating drugs, medication of any kind, and I actually now I look forward to my daily injections because it feels like I'm being proactive in my fight against my MS, and that makes me feel good. So really, if I can do it, you can do it. Yeah, I've explained to a couple people like what I go through every day, like my process, or shown them my little like injection station, which is just where I keep all of my stuff for my injections. And they're like, that sounds terrible. No, it's really not. It's weird to get used to. Your first couple injections probably be weird, but it's really not bad. It sounds a lot worse than it is. So, yeah, that's all I got. Hopefully this video was helpful to you in, any form. So, yeah, my main goal was to try to get you to understand that Glatopa is good, and it's really not that bad. So, yeah, that's all I got. Happy Glatopa-ing. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care, Internet World.